being in an environment with other people with disabilities who were all just trying their best, regardless of any limitations, was just a great feeling.
Eventually, we shouldn't even be saying all ability athletes and athletes. You guys are athletes. Just like I'd love to get to a world where we don't have to talk about women's sport. It's just sport.
It's just important to persist in finding these inclusive opportunities. And once you do, the benefits you get out of it are just priceless.
Welcome to 40G.
Tamsin Colley, welcome to the 40G podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on.
We're very excited to have you on because you are 40G's first Paralympian and all-ability athlete. And this is such an important topic that often doesn't get enough limelight. So I'm really keen to get into your story, which is truly inspirational, and I'm sure the audience will absolutely learn plenty of value from it.
Thank you so much.
So there's about 4.4 million Australians today living with a disability, which is almost 1 in 5 people. But we rarely hear the stories told through the lens of sport and empowerment. So Tamsin, you have defied just about every expectation that was placed on you. But before we get into all of that, let's take it all the way back to the beginning. I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about your story, about your childhood, your disability, and how sport has played a massive role in your life.
Yeah, sure. So my childhood was a bit different to other kids my age. At around 18 months old, I actually had surgery to move a brain tumor from my cerebellum, which affects my speech, balance, coordination. So this left me with ataxic cerebral palsy. And I was lucky to have a mum who was a physio who actually persisted with doctors who didn't believe her that something was wrong, and got me diagnosed, then knew exactly what I needed for my rehabilitation. So I used a wheelchair and walker actually until I was 5 years old and had various therapies such as physio, OT and speech. And then at around 5 years old, I learned to walk independently just before I started school. And then at around 6 years old, I went to my first disability sport come and try day. I just loved it as being in an environment with other people with disabilities who were all just trying their best, regardless of any limitations, was just a great feeling. And it allowed me to feel more comfortable in my disability, which is a benefit I still value today.
That's pretty incredible to be in a wheelchair until 5 and now, you've ran for Australia. So do you ever think about how cool that is, and did you ever believe that would have been the case when you were younger?
Yeah, definitely. I think all the time how incredible that is that I managed to make that recovery. I certainly probably wasn't thinking of representing Australia when I was just younger in a wheelchair. I was just trying to do my best to walk like same as my sister who was 2 years older. So definitely a bit of copying going on there.
A bit of sibling rivalry is always healthy, no doubt. But there's a larger issue at play here, right? So research shows that kids with disability are twice as likely to drop out of sport by the age of 14. Now, when we've got girls who are already dropping out at twice the rate of boys at the age of 14, it just goes to show that there is a massive lag with what we're doing and the environments that we're creating, the facilities that we have in order to attract more all-ability athletes to sport. Have you found in your own experience that sport has sometimes not been extremely inclusive and that you didn't have the facilities that you needed in order to participate?
Yeah, definitely. So growing up, I didn't find that sport was always that inclusive to me. The first Little Athletics club we actually tried was not set up for people with disabilities and even had people walking across the track before I even finished races. But luckily, I had people around me who helped me persist in finding inclusive opportunities. So we eventually found Southeastern Little Athletics Club, which was just very inclusive to me. And I persisted in that environment until I grew out of Little Athletics. They were just so supportive and even made multi-class events for me as the first athlete they had in their club at the Ace Championships, which was so great. And it's great to see more inclusive opportunities like this happening now. We still have a fair way to go, But yeah, it's just important to persist in finding these inclusive opportunities. And once you do, the benefits you get out of it are just priceless.
Mm. And I assume it has come a long way, I guess, in the past 10 or 20 years, but obviously there is still a massive, massive way to go. Can you tell us a little bit now about how the trajectory of your career from little athletics to representing Australia at the age of 13 at the Rio Olympics, which you were the youngest Paralympian on the team, and you've also broken a few Australian records on the track too. So I know you're probably quite modest, but I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, thank you. So, it was started, as I mentioned, at little athletics, like most sports do at the community level, and then you build up. So I actually, as well as that, I tried multiple different disability sports in common try days, and was encouraged by my school sport teachers to pursue the individual sports offered for students with a disability through the school system. So I made it to the state level for swimming and national level for athletics and cross country by the time I was in year 4 at school, breaking records my T36 classification along the way. And then we found an inclusive athletics training squad after some searching, and I just enjoyed the training and kept improving. Then when I was actually about to turn 14 when I was selected for the Rio Paralympics. So this was a very proud moment for me, and maybe the longest ever Australian track and field Paralympian actually, which is a title I'm still honored to hold.
Yeah, that's pretty special, isn't it? I just think, at age 13 to be over there, almost 14, but still, let's say 13. That sounds a bit better, doesn't it? But what was it like? Did you have to miss out on a lot of school to be over there and to train and everything?
Yeah, it was just amazing. I was so grateful for the opportunity. I was in year 8 at school at the time. So yeah, when I was found out, my school friends were obviously very excited for me, and we even had a photographer from the local newspaper come and do a photo shoot at school with all my friends. So that was very special.
Yeah.
The whole school was just behind me, which was a great experience.
Yeah, you would have been the absolute poster child for the school celebrity.
Thank you.
So tell me about the experience over there. Have you been to Rio before? What was it like, the Olympic Village, and how did you go over there?
It was absolutely incredible. So I hadn't been to Rio, but experiencing Rio for the first time was amazing. And just being in the Paralympic Village with athletes of all types of disabilities, just all focused on preparing for the biggest event of their lives was just something really special. And as you can imagine, in Brazil, it was electric in the stadium, so the crowd went wild whenever there was a Brazilian competing. There was actually a Brazilian in the lane next to me in my race. So I just tried to use that energy to fuel my performance. So I had the start of my life in my 200 meters heat, and was on track to do a PB and make the final. But unfortunately, I fell over about 20 meters before the line, which is common for several athletes. This was obviously devastating for me, but I managed to pick myself up and finish the race, which kind of personifies the resilience that's core to the Paralympic spirit. And when people have told me I've inspired them due to that moment, it just motivates me to keep going.
Yeah, you can imagine there are so many people out there that would be inspired by that. And it would be absolutely devastating, getting to the pinnacle and, tripping over 20 meters before the line. But it does just say so much about your resilience. And on the topic of resilience, not only did you just go to the Paralympics in Rio in 2016, where, most people would think that is as high as you could go, but you've gone from sprinting down a 100-meter track to chasing a football across an entire pitch. And that transition says a lot about reinvention and the courage to do that. So when did football enter your life and what made you fall in love with it?
So good question. I actually tried football when I was younger in an all abilities program, but it wasn't catered towards physical disabilities back then. So I didn't really feel that level of belonging and an even playing field as I did when I was around people with similar disabilities to me. And there wasn't pathways for females with physical disabilities to pursue that sport competitively when I was growing up. But that all changed in 2022 when the Paramatildas were created, which is Australia's female cerebral palsy football team. That same year, so in 2022, they also had the World Cup, which I watched keenly on TV. And then it was then when I made up my mind that that was what I wanted to pursue competitively. And then I started training with my local football club and the state para football program. And then after some training, I managed to be selected for my first Paramatildas camp in 2023, and then the Para Cup later that year. And then earlier this year, I actually went to the Intercontinental Cup with the Paramatildas, where we came second, and I even scored 2 more goals, bringing my career total up to 6 so far. Each of these occasions just brings me more in love with the sport and motivates me to keep pushing to represent my country again in the sport I love.
Yeah, that's incredible. And there's something powerful about team sport and how it sort of can restore a sense of connection and that you feel like you're part of something bigger. So I'm sure for sprinting, it was sort of all about performance, right? But with soccer or football, it's a little bit more about belonging and having this sense of community again. So I'm curious, what part of football lights you up that track and field didn't?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's that team aspect. So I've always loved being in a team environment because of the collaboration and all working towards one goal together. Even when I was running, I would socialize and communicate with my competitors and training partners. But obviously it was still an individual sport, so all of the pressure of competition and stuff was on you, so it would become quite isolating. And then when teams were created for females with physical disabilities, I gravitated towards them and found it's also kind of easier to improve when you're in an environment around people with similar disabilities to you, all working together to one goal. And then I also do train in an able-bodied football team now, which I love, but just knowing that there's this opportunity to compete for the Paramatildas makes it even more meaningful. And whenever I get to camps and tournaments with them, I not only value the opportunity to improve and play in the national team, but also being in a team with people with similar disabilities, all focused on one goal and not judging each other, other people's challenges, just understanding and all moving forward together is something so great.
And, we talk a lot about that the barriers aren't necessarily physical, right? A lot of them are systemic. Like there are a lack of pathways for all ability athletes or trained coaches and especially representation, which is what you're saying. But even finding, the accessible facilities and inclusive clubs can be a challenge. And I guess it would be extremely challenging for all ability athletes who grew up in rural and regional areas as well. So you've spoken about moments when you yourself felt that you weren't particularly welcome or that you couldn't try out for able-bodied sports because they saw the word para in front of your name. Now, this kind of discrimination isn't rare because around 60% of people with a disability say that they've faced this bias or exclusion. So what's one moment that really still sticks out to you where you felt completely dismissed or underestimated by having the word para in front of your name?
Yeah, so there were several moments when people just dismiss or underestimate me because of my disability. But one of the key examples of this was when I was trying to join our club football team. There was actually 3 clubs we contacted at first who were reluctant to include someone with a disability in their teams. Even when we mentioned I was a Paralympian, they just saw the prefix para and thought that because I had a disability, I am incapable, which is far from the truth. But we persisted and finally found an inclusive club person park who I played for ever since. And they just really supported me. The club president even nominated me for the 2024 Female Football Week award, which I was thrilled to win in recognition of my community aspect as well as on the field. So yeah, they're just so great to me.
Yes, it says a lot about, an inclusive environment and just how important that is. And if you find that environment, how you can thrive in that regardless. Now, there's still a huge gap between perception and performance when it comes to all ability sports. And so many people see parasport as, inspirational instead of elite, which is exactly what it is. You are world-class athletes. So what do you think are some misconceptions about para-athletes that are still being held that you would like to myth bust, if you could?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that just because you have a disability, it automatically means you're less capable. So both in my sporting and academic life, I've come across people who think that I can't achieve the same results as an able-bodied person because of my disability. But it's just important to show them and yourself that having a disability doesn't mean you can't succeed. It just may look a bit different, and you may need extra support or understanding depending on the disability. People also tend to downplay the achievements of para athletes. So, because you have a disability, say in the Paralympics, they think that that's just a participation event or less worthy than the able bodied equivalent. Same with power football, but it is actually not any less than the able-bodied version of the game. It just may look a bit different, and we as athletes in that sport need to train just as hard and maybe even harder as we need to manage our disabilities as well as competing at the elite level.
Absolutely. It's often overlooked, and it's almost this form of tokenism, I guess, where at the end of the day, as I said, you are world-class athletes, but you do face more barriers and that you probably have fewer resources. You're managing your disabilities on top of that, often work, study, and everything. So it just goes to show how impressive you are as athletes. And if I were to put you as Prime Minister for one day, what do you think is the first thing that you would change to make sport more inclusive and accessible for all ability athletes?
Thank you. So I would just educate more people on the importance of inclusion. So a lot of even clubs and teams put inclusion in the too hard basket and think that our people with disabilities need all of these extra resources to accommodate them, when in reality we usually just need a bit of extra understanding and inclusion so we want to play the sport we love like anyone else. So knowing that people with disabilities are not fundamentally any different, we just may need an extra support, but including us can go a long way.
Football isn't currently in the Paralympics, but there is a massive push for it to be included in the Brisbane 2032 Olympics. What would that mean for you and for future generations?
Yeah, so self-inclusive football, as you said, isn't currently in the Paralympics yet, but the international body, which is the IFCPF, is campaigning for it to be included in 2032. This would mean the absolute world to everyone involved. So it will be a dream come true for the players to get to represent Australia at the Paralympics on home soil. The Para Asia Cup in 2023 was in Melbourne. So it was amazing to have all of my family there to support me, and the home crowd will be even bigger for the Paralympics. So this will ultimately be more eyes on several people. This will also have an impact on future generations, and they will be to pursue self-control themselves and see that having a disability doesn't have to limit their dreams. We will also be able to look up to other female disabilities representing Australia and the world. I have already had some people come up to me saying that what I say in either or my activities through social media has to pursue sports, and it just makes me so happy, and they have to do it again in future.
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it? It wouldn't just be symbolic, it would also mean unlocking funding and visibility and more pathways for thousands of kids with disabilities who never had thought that that could possibly happen. So for athletes like you, I assume, it's not just about the medal, is it? It's about recognition, and it's about being able to see yourself reflected on the biggest stage. So as fans, players, and the wider community, what can we do to help make that happen?
So the answer is just pretty simple. It is just to throw all your support behind us as a team, the Paramatildas, and getting into the Paralympics. So hopefully we can show the world that there's a real need for cerebral palsy football to be included in the Paralympics, and it would just benefit everyone involved.
Absolutely. And what does the style or the format look like?
Yeah, so cerebral palsy football is played on a smaller field, so there's less players on the field at once. And there's a few different roles, there's my side is kind of like a summer soccer version of the game. Bit smaller goals and smaller, shorter halves, to manage half a team against players too. But yeah, the game, obviously, it's still very exciting to us, and it still looks like football. So, just I would encourage anyone who wants to get out and watch a game of CP football. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very keen for it, and I'll definitely be pushing for it here, don't you worry, because I'd love to see you out there in 2032. Now, you're also doing a lot of advocacy in female all-ability athletes and in that space. So when we talk about equality in sport, it's obviously not just about gender. It's about ability, it's about access, representation, and also intersectionality matters a lot. So there's a stat that says that 10% of all ability sports programs in Australia are specifically designed for girls and women, which is minute. Now, you are helping bust this stat by helping running a program for all ability female athletes in the soccer realm through a grant from Football New South Wales. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you mentioned, there's not that many opportunities for girls and women with disabilities to play sport, and even less for people with physical disabilities. My mom and I were just really frustrated about this lack of opportunities. And especially a lot of all abilities program around my area were mixed. So, they were male dominated, and girls just wouldn't show up as they didn't feel included. So we raised the issue with my wonderful club, Person Park, and helped them apply to a combat community grants earlier this year. And we actually got it. So ran a females with disabilities football program in 2 segments. So first a 6-week block coached by my good friends and Paramatildas, Ray Anderson and Talia Blanchard. And then I got my coaching certificate earlier this year and felt more confident, and so actually helped coach it for the second 4-week block a bit later on, which was called She Kicks, and just so great to see all the females with disabilities having a go at the sport.
Yeah, what's one of the moments that stuck with you the most while you're running that program?
So I think that it was very rewarding seeing all the females with disabilities having a go. And one of the athletes I remember said that she was looking for a program like this around 20 years ago, but stuff like that just didn't exist when she was growing up. There were also some girls that said they really valued the program as they had gone to mixed soil abilities program, but since there were a lot of boys there, they just didn't get the ball a lot. So really valued the opportunity to improve their skills and also confidence on the ball. So I just got really good feedback, and everyone who came wanted to see more programs like that one in the future.
Yeah, and we've seen so many times in female sport that females do receive and react better when they are within an all-inclusive, all-female environment. They're more likely to have more confidence to back themselves, and they really yearn for that community more so than males do. So I think having that sort of a community where they are attracted to it, they are surrounded by people similar to them, similar interests, you really do thrive in an environment like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what has been the most rewarding part of seeing these girls that you've been coaching getting to thrive and getting to belong in this community?
Yeah, so it's just been really rewarding. I would say the most rewarding part is just seeing their confidence build up throughout the program. As I mentioned, some of them had been to mixed abilities programs, so they felt dominated by the boys and they didn't really get to participate as much. So they were quite shy at the start, but by the end of the program, they were much more confident on the ball and even eager to take me on as a coach. Their skills just improved massively. Their parents even said that too. And then they were just so thankful for the opportunity to be in a program like this and also with other people in the same boat as them. So, there was a real push for more programs like that in the future.
And what is your coaching or leadership philosophy?
I guess it is around inclusion. I want to allow more people to just feel included, and I tailor every deal obviously to their abilities. So everyone with a disability is different. So just meeting them where they're at and trying to work with them to achieve their goals.
Well, that's a brilliant philosophy, and I think something that needs to be taken up more of. Now, we talk about how we can do more, but how can organisations do more in this space, not just through tokenism, but through true inclusion?
Yeah, so programs for females with disabilities are so important. Being in two programs, like being a female and someone with a disability, can be quite hard. But playing sport is probably even more important for us, not just because of the physical, mental, and social benefits, but also feeling empowered to do sport and not being limited because of your disability or being allowed to be told you can't do something because you're female. More organizations just need to support programs like this, generally include people and see the benefit in that. There'll be benefits for everyone in the long run. So just seeing people want and need this and seeing more organizations supporting this would be just fantastic.
100%. And, inclusive sport communities are good for everyone as well. And it makes everyone better. And it's just something that needs to be taken up more often. So for so many young athletes with a disability, the message that they get is that the system isn't built for them. And often, that has been true. But what you're proving, Tamsin, is that you can still build your own lane. Now, I love asking this question because this is what 4TG is all about, right? It's about helping the next generation of girls see that there is a place for them, even when no one else may see it yet. So, what advice would you give young athletes with a disability or any girl who feels like the system wasn't built for her?
So good question. It definitely feels like the system wasn't built for you sometimes, and in some cases, it just isn't yet. I sometimes say that people can usually cope with a female or someone with a disability, but not both. So it's really difficult to be in two marginalized communities, and I still struggle sometimes with proving my worth and self-worth as someone with a disability who is also a girl. It's the same as any marginalization though. You just need to keep pushing for equal opportunities and surround yourself with people who lift you up. It's also important to remember that you're not alone and there's other people going through the exact same thing as you. And that's the beauty of social media, as you can connect with them all online and feel less alone that way. And also remember that if it feels tough at the moment, things do get better and there are inclusive opportunities out there You just need to put in some work to find them. And if you can advocate for greater inclusion to make the world a better place for future generations like I try to do, that's even better.
Yeah, some very powerful lessons there indeed. Now, Tamsin, let's flip the coin. If you could go back now as a 16-year-old knowing what you do know now, what would you tell your 16-year-old self?
So I would tell my 16-year-old self to just believe in your ability more. So even though I had represented Australia already by the age of 16, I felt like I had just scraped in by luck. And although there may have been an element of truth in that in Rio due to being a late call-up, I wouldn't have got those opportunities if I wasn't the next best in line, which just showed how all my hard work was paid off. I think a lot of female athletes and people with disabilities don't give themselves enough credit. So just believing in your hard work and that self-belief is a key part of any journey, including sporting ones. So without any self-belief, you won't know what you're truly capable of.
Well, I'm sure 16-year-old Tamsin would be incredibly proud of who you've become now and the things that you've achieved and still are going on to achieve, no doubt. So at a systemic level, what do you think is the main thing that needs to change to promote all abilities female sports?
So there have certainly been some improvements in inclusion and all ability sports for athletes with a disability. For example, there's more team sports options available now compared to when I was growing up, but we still have some way to go. And I dream about a time where it's like not something heroic to include someone with a disability in your teams. It's just part of the norm. People with disabilities are all different, so all bring something unique to teams. So, just including para-athletes in both able-bodied teams and offering disability-specific options at all levels is so important. This can start with just simple common try days. For example, I'm involved with the Cerebral Palsy Sporting and Recreation Association of New South Wales, which run multi-sport days for people with disabilities. And it's just so great to see people of all different ages and disabilities having a go at sport. And then there needs to be competitive opportunities and pathways available for people with disabilities to pursue sport if they wish. And this needs to actually be advertised so people can just see it in order to be it. So just having that representation and opportunities out there is vital.
Yeah, I love what you said there about how eventually we shouldn't even be saying all ability athletes and athletes. You guys are athletes. Just like I'd love to get to a world where we don't have to talk about women's sport. It's just sport. And the more that we can see it, as you say, the more that she can see it, she can be it. And just normalizing it, educating people, creating awareness and backing it wholeheartedly, I can only imagine is just going to improve it so much and give future generations so many more opportunities than perhaps you've had to this point.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really great point. So just the representation and opportunities and getting to a world where all sport is just treated equally will just be the ideal scenario.
Yeah, that will be a good world to live in, won't it? So now tell me, Tamsin, what is next for you? What can we expect to see besides playing at 2032 Paralympics in Brisbane? What else are you doing outside of sport and what is motivating you and driving you at the moment?
Currently I'm focusing on cerebral palsy football. So I'm try my best to keep training and improve myself and hopefully making some more Paramatilda teams. Like there's a World Cup next year, which either playing at will be obviously ideal, but I just like supporting the team even if I'm not. I also do a lot of I do university studies, so I'm studying exercise physiology to try and improve other people with disabilities' lives through exercise and sport, which is something I'm really passionate about, as you've probably seen.
That's incredible. And where can our listeners go and follow you and follow your journey?
So I do a lot of posting on social media to try and advocate for people with disabilities to be seen as equal. So my Instagram is at Tamsin Colley, and I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn as Tamsin Colley PLY. TikTok, if you're obliged to do that too, Tamsin Colley, I guess. But yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Tamsin, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story, as well as all the work that you're doing for creating equality and great opportunities for all abilities athletes out there. And what I love most about your story is that, you're not just breaking records, you're also breaking ceilings. And you are living proof that inclusion isn't just about giving people a chance out of charity. It's about recognizing the power and the talent and resilience that's been overlooked for far too long. Because as you've mentioned, when we design sport for everyone, we don't just create better athletes, but we create better communities, and communities that we all want to be a part of. So if you're a listener today and if you're a coach or if you're a fan or a teammate, I think the question here to ask is, who isn't in the room yet and why? Because as we know, equality in sport doesn't just happen by accident. It happens when people like yourself, Tamsin, refuse to accept the limits that have been set for you, and when the rest of us start removing the barriers and that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And that is what 4TG is all about. It's about building a world where every girl of every ability, of every shape, size, age, and level can see herself in the game. So please go and follow Tamsin on social media to stay up to date with all the incredible things that she is doing in the space. And Tamsin, good luck with everything, and I can't wait to watch you play football at the 2032 Olympics.
Thank you so much. It was great to be on, and good luck with all your other episodes on 4TG. It's a great initiative.
Thank you very much, Tamsin.